So, I just saw Smile last night. Let's see what I thought of it. Hey everyone, it's Don G. Corleone here, and I'm here with a brand new movie review, and this review is for a film that had just came out today, but I saw the Thursday night preview of it. This is for a horror film from a new director named Parker Finn. I haven't heard barely much about. For a film I saw a few trailers for, and this film is going to be for a horror film, the last film to come out this September and to kick off the October tomorrow. And that film is going to be for Parker Finn's 2022 film, Smile. So what's the plot of this movie? Well, after witnessing a bizarre traumatic incident involving a patient, Dr. Rose Carter starts experiencing frightening occurrences that she can't explain. Rose must confront her troubling past in order to survive and escape her horrifying new reality. Yeah, it's kind of somewhat like that film The Ring, but before I begin to get into more details, how was this film made? Well, it all started in June 2020 when Parker Finn got taped by Paramount Pictures to write and direct a feature adaptation of his own short film Laura Hasn't Slept, which saw a young woman seeking the help of her therapist desperate to rid herself of a recurring nightmare. Earlier in March that year, the short film won the Best Special Jury Recognition Prize for SXSW's Midnight Short category. And in September 2021, the film was announced under the title Something's Wrong with Rose, with Sosie Bacon cast as a Tyler character, and the Paramount Players and Temple Hill Entertainment had boarded the film to co-produce. And then the following month, Jesse T. Usher, Kyle Gallner, Rob Morgan, Cal Penn, Judy Rez, Gillian Zinzer, and Caitlin Stacey joined the cast. Principal photography would go on to begin on October 11, 2021 last year in New Jersey, including in the city of Hoboken, and finished on November 24, 2021. Then editing and post-production started in December 2021 and lasted through the end of May 2022. The visual effects would then be done by the Artery and was supervised by Yuvai Levy and Viko Sorabani, when the film was simply retitled Smile. And then by the end of the month, Cristobal Tapia de Veer was attached to compose the film. Smile, so after all that, and all that the trailers, obviously, Smile will then have its world premiere at Fantastic Fest on September 22nd, 2022, and has been released officially today in the United States on September 30th, 2022, today, by Paramount Pictures. And so far, the film has received positive reviews from critics. As for my reaction, I saw a Thursday night preview of this movie, and I have to say, I thought it was just okay or tolerable at best. Like, I could tell this movie wasn't going to really be a masterpiece at all, but it was honestly alright for what it was. Just a simple horror film to kickstart October, and that was it. Like, this premise had potential to be a cool original idea. Like, the movie, the first half started off pretty cool, and then it has a nice little mystery, but then the second half just starts to follow a very familiar formula. It seems like the writers either have never watched The Ring or just decided to rip it off. Like, you know, that horror film The Ring from 2002, the American remake, that was based off that Japanese film Ringu. The jump scares were there if that's what you're into. It's not, like, the trailers made this movie look way better, and this movie failed to even come close to the trailers. Like, if you watch films like It Follows, The Ring, and Fallen, you've pretty much watched this one. Smile even has plenty of wild scares and amazing acting carrying through most of its runtime, but once it got to the final act, it lost steam. While the movie was already riding the wave of the curse trope with like the rain, the grudge it follows, it had the trauma trope added into it that's usually found in your standard A24 movie. It also adds all the same camera movements seen in an Ari Aster film like Hereditary and Midsummer. The drama aspect added some momentum to the character and gave some explanation to why people may think she's crazy, but it didn't do much for me. It just made the movie feel way more derivative by the end. In my opinion, the ending also felt very anticlimactic. I'm gonna get to the ending in a bit. Like, the characters talk about how you need to kill someone to end the curse, and they briefly show something that alludes to that, but nothing is really ever done with it. However, of course, there were still some things I liked about the film. Like, for example, like I've already said, Smile starts very strong with a shocking and memorable opening that leaves a door wide open for seemingly endless horror possibilities. And the first act is great, running with its premise. The first 45 minutes or so of the movie are full of the creepy shenanigans that you could ever want. There are a couple of jump scares that actually even affected me. There is some genuinely disturbing imagery, and the overall theme and concept was intriguing and disturbing enough that I found myself consistently chilled. No thanks to the crisp fall weather, with plenty of paranormal happenings to satisfy even the most jaded viewer, the first act of the film is sure to satisfy, complete with a hefty dose of psychological drama, and I was totally engaged during the initial sequences, so much so that I was beginning to be convinced that Smile would become my favorite horror movie of the year. And then the second act of the film happened. The second half was where it really died. Because of all the trauma. It will always be traumatic to witness an event as dramatic and violent as a suicide, and it is from trauma that this entity feeds, like in how well this theme is used. After all, many of us have gone through traumas, and traumas are just kept in a hidden corner within us, always ready to be reactivated, like grief and guilt are often associated with traumatic events, and Smile does not deny that connection, nor does it refuse to make connections with psychological and mental problems that can arise from it, and how when this happens, the victim becomes even more placed on the sidelines, more isolated, more alone in a world from which one does not intend to move away from, but which finds no other alternative. But of course, this is a horror movie, and it's not only about the message that a film of the genre should live. Like, good news, even if you don't care about the meaning, Smile still kind of does decently good and effective entertainment with the whole meaning. The suspenseful scenes are well constructed. The environment feels heavy for long moments, and it presents us with several jump scares that work perfectly, being this one of the scariest first halves of horror films today. And that's kind of about it for the good qualities. I had quite a few problems with the rest of the film, sadly. Like, for starters, the film suffers from a certain predictability typical of the genre. Like this film died in the second half, and especially died from the damn ending. Like, God, I saw this ending coming from miles away, and at times, it seems to rely a little too much on the power of suggestion and the effectiveness of its scares, although there are reasons for that because those are two areas where it stands out. The visual effects, mostly practical, are not present for long moments, but when they appear, they elevate the work with some really terrifying images. Like, the reason why I hated the ending of this film, because here's how this movie basically ends. Spoilers. How this movie basically ends is it seems like she's finally defeated the curse, but then, and she returns to this other dude, I forget his name's house, but then that dude's verse turns deep, and guess what? They pulled a damn grudge. It's a stiped ending. And as turns out, her defeating the entity was a hallucination, and she never left the house. So, guess what? The main character ends up falling victim to the curse, takes her life, while smiling, with that other guy soon to follow, and more people. God, we had to do a cliche downer ending with this. What? Just had to end things like The Grudge. Like every fucking Grudge movie. As I said, it left me feeling kind of empty and upset that they didn't do more with the concept. Despite Parker Finn's good work, Paramount could have arranged for some extra people to give him some extra support. The story of the film is good, but not really original. Horror connoisseurs can quickly compare the story with stories from other horror films, such as The Ring of It or It Follows. Like for example, the film can at times become a bit predictable for horror fans, who can then roughly predict what will happen in the film and thus anticipate the story itself. But I will say this. Parker Finn knows how to create a good tension with the way in which he manages to portray things together with an appropriate soundtrack and further frightening sounds. Unfortunately, this often only leads to a single jump scare after the umpteenth time. This can start to seem faint rather than being really scary, and this allows the film to lose its tension level quite a lot. And he does try to bring out some other horror ways during the end of the film, but these are no longer as strong or frightening. If it had been more creative earlier in the movie with different horror elements, the movie could have been better and scarier. Around the end, he also just seems to lose some of his focus, so all of a sudden everything happens and seems to be possible. And another thing, and it's also the runtime. I feel this film was way too long at 115 minutes. This film probably would have worked better at 95 minutes or something like that. What could have been a great... So yeah, in the end, what could have been a great film is let down with its mediocre plot that borrows heavily from other films which have done this well-drawn story much more effectively. Like take a sprinkle of The Ring, a dash of Sinister, and mix with a full measure of Fallen and Overcooked for nearly 2 hours, and this is what you get. It is still entertaining, but not nearly as original as it thinks it is, and overstayed its welcome by about 20 minutes. So in the end, my recommendation for Smile, I would recommend just waiting to stream this movie online for your own sake. That's my verdict for Smile. Anyway, that's it for my review of Smile. If you're wondering how I'm going to rank Smile, here's how I'm going to rank this movie. So overall, if you want to see a new release to kick off October, then I would personally just wait to stream this one online and maybe wait for Amsterdam in terms of theater releases. And if you're wondering how I'm going to rank Smile, I'm going to give Smile a 6 out of 10. There we go. That pretty much wraps up my review for Smile. And the other October releases that are coming out are a David O. Russell film called Amsterdam, Halloween Ends, and then Black Adam, which thankfully was not delayed, at least. And then, of course, some crappy PG-13 horror film called Deliver from Devil or whatever, but those are the October releases this week. I might skip the Deliver from Devil one, because that just looks stupid. But the other three, I definitely cannot wait to check out. But yeah, until then, guys, that'll be it for this review. Thank you all for watching. And if you like this and want to see more, then don't forget to like, subscribe to Don G. Corleone.